My name is Mitchell Fox. I'm 29 years old, and I work in an office. Today, I'd like to talk about my encounter with a toxic restaurant waiter. I work at a company that manages the restaurant industry, and I used to be the director of some establishments. And when I turned 26, fate had arranged for me to meet someone special.
My name is Evelyn O'Brien, and today, henceforth, I will be working here with you. Let's do our best, Mr. Director, sir.
Yes, let's. I fell in love at first sight with a new employee at the establishment of which I was the director at the time. This was the first that had happened to me, so even I was clueless as to what to do. But there were other newcomers too, and we were short on experienced folks to teach them the ways of our service. So I was assigned to educate Miss O'Brien.
Mr. Director, what should I do if someone says a complaint like this?
You say something like, I deeply apologize for the inconvenience. I will quickly fetch the manager. Call for me or the manager of the place when you say so, yeah? Any complaints, regardless of what it is about exactly, must be handled by the chief, after all.
I see. I'm so lucky to have you as my mentor, Mr. Director. Your instructions are simple, and you're so kind, too.
Miss O'Brien wears a perpetual smile, and she's so positive and kind to everyone. I knew she wasn't giving me any special treatment. My feelings for her became even stronger as time wore on.
If I may, sir, how old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
What? You're only 2 years older than me?
I went to a remote university and I entered this domain of work as soon as I graduated high school, you see. That's why my experience here is decent.
That's amazing. So are you looking to open your own restaurant one day?
Well, something like that. I've always wanted to work in the catering industry since I was a boy. On her breaks, Miss O'Brien would come to talk with me. Because of this, I was able to get to know her more. She was 24 years old and had just graduated a junior college. She worked part-time in izakayas and convenience stores, and she discovered her interest in catering work. It was also apparently her first time working full-time as a restaurant clerk. She was nervous, worried about if she could do her job well, but her service was highly acknowledged, and the customer surveys really built her a nice reputation. Even my company holds her as a potential candidate for manager, or even director of this establishment. Perfect as a person and as a colleague, her popularity among the guys was also on the rise. I say this when I myself am shooting for her, but I couldn't concentrate on love affairs for the time being, so I didn't do anything. One day, she contacted me through personal DMs.
Hello, Mr. Director.
Hey there, anything the matter?
My family sent me a ridiculous amount of tangerines. I can't eat all these myself, so would you care to accept a bunch, please?
Why, thank you. I'm sure everyone would love to see some of those, though.
No. I want you to take a bunch. In other words, I want to see you.
Almost immediately, I call her, and when I did…
I'm sorry to mix up the business with the private.
There was no need to apologize. I've been mixing business with my private life for a long time, and this was how I stopped by her place, and upon accepting the tangerines, I confessed my feelings to her. She was so happy she cried, and we were blessed with the beginning of our relationship. 2 years after the relationship first started, I made a decision. Hey, it's your birthday soon, right?
Don't remind me. I don't want to remember I'm getting close to 30.
Yeah, you're still 25, right?
I mean, I guess so. What about my birthday?
Do you know a restaurant called French MoniRobo?
How could I not know that very famous expensive French place?
I reserved a table there, and I was wondering if we could celebrate your birthday there.
Wow, it's especially famous for how hard it is to get a reservation.
Well, let's just say I did my best and it was enough, huh?
Still, that's quite the spurt, isn't it? Last year was nowhere near this extravagant.
Oh, come on.
I know. Thank you, darling. I'm so happy, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, you do that, honey. But truth be told, it wasn't just to celebrate her birthday. I had the intention of proposing to her. That's why I was strenuously preparing long before we had that conversation. First, over the course of a month, I went to many jewelry shops and carefully chose a wedding ring. And it wasn't that I just reserved a table at that restaurant. I'd personally asked the manager. Yes, of course. How would you like the surprise, sir? You have a piano for entertainment purposes, do you know? I would like the musician to play the song of my choice, and at that timing, I would like you to bring out a fabulous cake. I'd like the decoration message to be happy birthday, and then below that, please marry me. But thanks to the cooperation of the manager, we even had a rehearsal. Finally, the big day had arrived. Nervous out of my mind, we strode to the restaurant entrance.
Are you alright? Why are you so nervous?
Oh, it's just that I haven't been to a place with such atmosphere, you know? Yep, I was so nervous I'd even made the poor girl worried about me. This was a battle you only fight once in your whole life, after all. Just calm down is probably the most impossible thing to do in this situation. It all went fine until we were led to our table, with my whole body feeling like it was made of marble.
Welcome! We hope you enjoy your stay. Tonight was the dinner course, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Well then, your drinks, please.
The waiter who served us seemed cantankerous, and his speech sounded rough, perhaps even rude. I thought his attitude was not ideal for a restaurant like this. Even when he brought us our drinks, he pretty much slammed the tray on the table, and his irritated aura never wavered.
That waiter, honey, do you find him a bit odd?
Yeah, I do. It seemed Evelyn was a bit uncomfortable, and I prayed, nearly crying, that tonight of all nights wouldn't be ruined. But there was no turning back now. I told myself that if the surprise went well, this uncomfortable awkwardness could cease to exist. But…
Odd? So I'm finally able to be your wife, honey.
yes, I believe so.
Hey, can you be a bit more happy?
I'm very happy, honey, of course I am. No doubt I'm the happiest man in the world, but…
I guess your real intention at the restaurant was to propose to me.
You saw through that?
How could I not? The cake was amazing, and there was even expensive champagne.
I mean, I guess, but that stupid waiter ruined it all.
Now, you fixed everything in the end. I'm still so happy after all. Don't fixate on it, okay?
You're right, I'm sorry. Thanks, honey. Now here comes the story. Right after I'd gathered my senses to make that night unforgettable, the waiter I'd previously talked about came up to me and said, "Sir, the cake should be brought to the table when the music starts, yes?" He didn't even whisper it to me, but just blurted it within earshot of Evelyn. In other words, it spoiled the whole surprise. I froze at this unexpected blow to the heart. Evelyn herself seemed really awkward. I'd assumed this particular waiter had never known about the surprise, and under the pretense I was going to the bathroom. I went to check with the manager. "I'm so terribly sorry, sir. I assure you had taken extreme measures to make the surprise a success. It seems our Mr. Norton was mistaken in his understanding." He was literally on his knees apologizing, and he summoned the waiter known as Mr. Norton. "Come on! You apologize to this gentleman immediately!"
Sorry about that.
That apology of his showed not a sliver of sincerity. My blood was starting to boil, but I didn't want to make a fuss. Not there, not then. So I accepted his mediocre apology. In the end, I had the decoration only changed to happy birthday and changed the whole theme into a birthday surprise. Later, we frantically looked for a nice bar with a beautiful sight to the city, and there I finally proposed. The proposal itself was a complete success, but I was just not satisfied. No one can blame me for wanting revenge over that rascal, Mr. Norton. But I wasn't going to let this affect me at all. If the outcome was great, everything was great. I started to focus on making the wedding a wonderful memory for the two of us. The preparations, along with meeting each other's parents, the days were hectic, but we got through them. And 6 months after I proposed to her, we tied the knot. Evelyn, our families, and our friends and me myself were truly happy about this momentous occasion. Unbeknownst to Evelyn, I'd asked her friends to leave video messages to her to put on the big screen, and this particular surprise went fabulously. And then our new life together was joy itself. After a while, the memory of that toxic waiter completely disappeared from my mind. Another year later, my private life was going wonderfully, and just a couple of days later, I was promoted to a prominent position at the company. I was a success in many aspects of my life. One day, I'd gotten a letter from my class reunion reception. To be honest, I wasn't quite enthusiastic to go. That's because I never really enjoyed my high school life. But Tanner, an old friend of mine, contacted me for the first time in a while.
Hey, buddy, long time no see.
It's been a while. A year, wasn't it, since my wedding?
Has it been really that long? Damn, we really don't meet very often now that we're in society.
For real.
Did you get the memo for the class reunion?
Yep, I did.
You coming?
I don't know. Can't think of anyone in particular that I want to see. I don't think I will.
But Mr. Kim was also invited, you know?
Dude, seriously?
Yup. And he said he wanted to come. You did mention you wanted to see him again, right?
Yeah, everything's now changed completely. Mr. Kim was my high school homeroom teacher. Back then, I was at a loss on whether I should go to college or not, and he was always there for me whenever I needed to talk. He supported me when I first entered this domain of work, and he was my true benefactor. I was hoping to thank him for supporting me as much as he did back then. So this class reunion turned out to be the perfect opportunity.
It's a rare occasion. Why not go? This is about you, so I kind of have a feeling you're going to regret it if you don't go.
As usual, Evelyn was absolutely right. And so, I decided to attend my class reunion. I never really kept in touch with anyone from my class except for Tanner, so it would be about 10 years since I last saw most of my classmates. I arrived at the scene a little nervous. But 10 years since seeing everyone, that naturally awakened some bright conversation, and I was never alone in the corner of the room. And I got my wish. I was so satisfied to meet my old mentor again, and thank him for what he did for me. But once I looked around the room again… Wait, aren't you the waiter from that restaurant? To my surprise, that irritated waiter who ruined my surprise proposal of marriage to Evelyn was present. Anyone could see he was a participant here, and would thus mean he was my classmate at one point.
You kidding me? So you really don't freaking remember? To have completely humiliated this god you see before you, you stupid bastard!
Not one line from his mouth brought a forsaken memory to the surface. He was my classmate from when I was in grade 12, and his name is Tiberius Norton. Back then, I didn't have any friends other than Tanner, who'd invited me, and I was just an ordinary student who didn't excel in studies nor in sport. On the other hand, Norton was part of an eccentric group, and you could say he part of the winning class of students. He was always mocking me, a plain, uninteresting student. It wasn't on the scale of bullying, but he often exposed me in bad ways with his meddling. After the last school festival at that school, there was a small recreational activity in our classroom. Perhaps he was pretty high energy from the festival, but he actually concerned me and used a headlock. Everyone else was laughing, but I was just in pain the whole time. And then, enough! I pushed him away rather strongly and he'd fallen to the floor. Everyone laughed as his sorry butt hit the floor. With his pride tainted, he retaliated.
You prick!
He charged with the intent to kill, or rather punch. I swiftly evaded his attack and struck a blow into the pit of his stomach. The class fell silent, and for a brief instant, everyone stood motionless. Actually, no one knew this, but I've been learning karate since I was a young boy. And by the time I was 18, I had a rank 3 black belt. I'd unconsciously reacted to his movements, and a punch from a ranked karateka wasn't something a beginner would easily endure. After being hit, Norton sat there in a daze with a few tears running down his cheeks. This particular incident had a lasting effect. that same Norton who'd bossed people around with that big attitude of his, was crying because he'd been easily defeated by an uninteresting student after all. He'd then become a laughingstock until graduation. The incident was used as a joke to taint his pride, and he was dragged off to status as class leader-like student. And things circle back to the present. Seems like Norton still holds a grudge after all these years. Honestly, that particular incident unfolded naturally, and in any case, he was at fault for striking the first blow. But I looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm sorry about that time." I properly and sincerely apologized to him. That was because I also was at fault for a few things. I was instructed as a ranked athlete to never to use these skills against a beginner. And yet, it all happened in the moment. But it was wrong of me to handle it like that. I feel terribly sorry about this, I really do. What exactly did I apologize for? That a ranked athlete had unfairly beaten a beginner? The fact that he became the target of jokes and banter was probably because of his everyday behavior. And once he'd heard my apology, he flew into a rage, his face as red as a tomato. "You think sorry's gonna fix everything? It's your frickin' fault I failed the university exams, and now I'm frickin' working as a goddamn waiter!" This is completely outside the boundaries of what was actually my fault. That's what I thought at least, but I decided to listen to everything he had to say and told myself to shut the hell up. "Not to mention you trotting into where I work with a whore and making me serve you like the frickin' hog that you are. And what, a proposal at the end? Your frickin' brain's so full of horse shit. That's why I frickin' ruined your surprise for you, you meathead." These words caused my emotions to turn calm and stone cold. "So you did that on purpose?" "Yeah, I did!" "I see. I'm glad you told me all of that." After I listened to what he had to say, I left the party. Why? He just saved me so much time, that's why. A few weeks later, "Good afternoon, I'm Fox, the new director in charge of this establishment. Under headquarters assignment. It's an honor to work with you." "What?" I became the consulting director of the restaurant where Norton worked. Truthfully, this particular restaurant was managed by his own father's catering company. And when I proposed to Evelyn that night, I was still under training, and wasn't in Dad's enterprise yet, so no one, not even the manager of the restaurant, knew of my true colors. Soon after I got married, I joined Dad's company to eventually become its true successor. And now, I hold the position in charge of maintaining this entire area. This is the new promotion I was talking about. Now, as his boss, I begin to talk to the deathly pale Mr. Norton. "I'm sorry, Mr. Norton, but you will be out of a job by the end of the month." At that, his eyes turned murderous and closed the distance between us. "You bastard! Ruling with an iron fist, I demand justice here! Revenge for the other day, I guess!" Of course, if we consider our past history, one can see why I'd want to do this. But I'm speaking solely as the individual in charge of managing this fine establishment. "The hell?" You claim that in the past you've deliberately attempted to sabotage a customer's proposal of marriage out of personal spite, huh?
But that was...
An employee purposefully acting to destroy a customer's singular moment of glory in their lives, whatever it may be, cannot be employed here. This is an obvious that can be done by anyone in the position I happen to hold. Yes, indeed, even if I hadn't met Norton at the reunion that night, upon knowing I was now in charge of the restaurant, I was gonna have a word with them. How did he attempt to ruin a proposal to marriage? If it really was a mistake, retraining or some other solution would have been proper protocol. But he himself had stated that he'd deliberately done so out of a personal wish for vengeance. Such would never be forgiven. Whether the customer was me or not, it does not matter, huh? There is a chance he will continue to do such actions towards individuals of whom he did not approve. In an age where social media is omnipotent and information can quickly spread to all corners of society, such can cause a calamity. It could destroy the reputation of this restaurant.
No way!
My job is to ensure the comfort of our customers and our staff, and to make this establishment a place of leisure and happiness. Mr. Norton, you are forbidden from serving customers this month, and you will continue to work behind the curtains until you leave entirely at the end of the month. Am I understood? Normally, firing him right then and there was acceptable, but with the guilt I felt over what I'd done to him as a former classmate, I promised him another month of work before he was fired. But he seemed to have resented working under my management, and from the next day he was absent without leave. In the end, I was left with no choice but to fire him completely after a few days. Tyler told me later on that now, but his pride had become so formidable he couldn't go back home, and finally started to gamble. He went into debt, and in the end, he went bankrupt. No one knows what happened to him after that. He must have had numerous chances to start over. The fact that he missed them is all due to his habit of blaming other people for his own mistakes, causing him to slack off. Even without me, he very well could have tripped somewhere along the way, and he would wind up where he is now. Even as someone who manages people occasionally, I must never forget that sometimes my own actions can drastically change someone else's life, and never slack off on my job or anything else.